These EMR tutorials are brought to you by EMRTemplateExperts.com. Hello, this is Jason Pedersen. I am the owner and lead developer of EMR Template Experts. Today, during this tutorial, I'd like to show you how to create a pick list that allows the user to select multiple values within the NextGen EMR system. First of all, I'm going to show you what you're going to need, the different fields and how to set them up, the layout and design, which fields are going to be hidden, which ones are the user's going to be interacting with. I'm also going to show you the triggers that are needed, and then finally the end result. At the end of the tutorial, you'll be able to create multiple value pick lists. Here's an example. Suppose you want to capture the activities that your patient or users like to do. For example, myself, I love to scuba dive, kayak, and climb. And as you can see, over here in the summary field, it's going to continue concatenating the values that are in this pick list until I actually hit close. And that is an example of a multiple value pick list. For the format that we need for this tutorial, I'm going to create a label so the users know, they have an idea of what's going on. So I'll give this activities, make it a little bit bigger, probably bold, yeah, that'd be nice. And then the summary. We need a summary box that's going to hold the values of everything that the user chooses from the pick list. So we'll just call this text summary filled. Maybe 200 just to be safe. Normally I would change the size to fit my template, but on this one I'm going to manually drag the corners just to where I think it looks good. Next, I want a button that the users are going to click on that indicates there's a drop down here. And by default, NextGen has one. It's the very first one in the list. I'm not going to change any of the attributes. Just click OK. Next is I need a field where the pick list is actually going to happen. So I'm going to call this text pick list. Give it a value of 25. Sounds good. Now the size, this will be a hidden field, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. But at the same time, I'll show you it's going to be big enough that I can easily select it and make changes to triggers. Next is I need a field that's going to hold the cursor. I'm going to call this text holder. Now, the length I really don't care about because I'm not going to assign it any value, so I'm going to leave it at 1. The size, I'll make it the same. And it is hidden. Okay. So the very first triggers that I need are going to be on the active image, the drop-down image, and both of them are going to be very similar. They're going to be a go-to field. So the very first go-to field is going to go to my holder. So it's going to send the cursor over to the holder field. No condition needed. And then right immediately after that, it's going to send it to the pick list. And I'm going to explain in a little bit why we have to do that. So those are the only two triggers that are needed for the image drop down. Okay. Now the rest of the triggers I want to place is on the pick list field. The very first one is I want a pick list to fire when the cursor first enters onto the field. So I'm going to go on entry. I want a pick list. My pick list is called Activities 2. Click OK. Everything's OK. Okay, no condition is needed. Now, next is I want to create a on-list pick. And what an on-list pick means is basically when a user clicks a value from a pick list or from a drop-down, you want the event or the trigger to fire at that moment. So when a user clicks on a value in my pick list, I want another pick list to happen. So let's scroll down to pick list. Again, we're going to find activities 2. Click OK. OK. And then the 2 remaining triggers for this are basically assigning the value from that pick list field into the summary field. So on list pick is when I want it to happen. I want it to assign a field value, and I want to assign the field value to the summary field. And the value I want is, number 1 is I want it to take any value that is currently in the summary field, so it doesn't erase itself. Then I'm going to add a comma. I'm going to add a space, and then I'm going to take the value that the user just selected from the pick list. Add, close, OK, and I only want this to happen if the summary field is not, let me put some spaces so it's easier to read, is not empty or null. Let me explain these right here. This symbol right here, the exclamation point and an equal sign, means is not equal to, and then the double quotation marks is for is null, doesn't have a value, or is empty. So I want this to happen if the summary field isn't empty or it does have a value. And create one more on list pick, assign field value. Again, I want it to assign it to the summary field, and I just want to take the value that's in the pick list. But perhaps what you might want to do is add some kind of concatenation, add a sentence to it so the field makes more sense. So for example, I'm going to do patient enjoys, add a space, and then whatever's in the pick list. Close, close. I only want this to fire on that very first time the user clicks on an item. So I'm going to say when the summary field is empty. And that's it. Those are the 4 triggers on here, 2 triggers on the other one, the 6 triggers that are needed in order to create a multiple value pick list. Let's test it out. Run over to EMR, and here is what we just created. I'm gonna, as you can see, I clicked on the image, I get my pop-up, and then I like to scuba dive, I like to kayak, I like camping, and as you see over here in the summary field that it's going to continue concatenating the values in that box as long as I'm willing to click. So I hit close, and that's it. That is your multiple pick list. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial and look forward to new ones.